force me to marry you.
Watch me.
Created by Roger Stern and artist George Perez, Maxima was designed to be a strong female antagonist to Superman, who would always, coincidentally, harbor some strong romantic feelings for him. After all, love has always been the reason for wage wars. Since her introduction in Action Comics issue 645, Maxima has garnered quite a lot of attention from the fans. There is a striking similarity between her and a certain red-haired telepath from the X-Men series, but does that similarity run deeper than that? Let's find out together in today's video, where we take a deep dive into Maxima's anatomy and figure out the reasons behind her invincibility, her Endorphin Kiss, and its effect, and much more. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Maxima? What does she look like? When you're out to hit on someone as amazing as Superman, you must be someone of the same caliber, whether in your heritage, physicality, or powers. Maxima checks all of the boxes we just mentioned. Standing at a height of 6'5", she is built like a goddess. She has the physique of an Amazonian, and every time we see her in the panels, she always seems to be a head taller than everyone. She's even often seen calling Blue Beetle Tiny One because he's at the level of her chest, which is the height of 5'11". Superman, towering at 6'3", is the only Justice League member who comes close to the height of the Almerakian Queen. Maxima is a true beauty with fiery red hair and contrasting green eyes. But she is not only just beauty, no, she also has the brains to go with it because, like I just said, Maxima was the queen. So, as it turns out, Maxima is from Almerac, a society that was built up by military activities. The people of this society lived under the rule of the House of the Blood Royal. They were made by selectively breeding the best of the best, and Maxima was one of the descendants of the House of Blood Royal. The members of this family always showed psionic abilities. Maxima was no different, as it was custom for the best in Almerac to mate with the best of other species for strength, speed, and power, and soon enough, Maxima was under the pressure to mate with someone. However, she didn't find people who were worthy of her whenever she looked. The subpar qualities of the mates around her made her not want to mate, leading to her remaining single for quite a while. She focused on building up her empire to cross over the whole galaxy, but somewhere she felt like she needed to find a suitable mate who would be worthy of her. As we know, fate works in mysterious ways, and one day, Sazu, Maxima's handmaiden, came across a transmission that talked about a certain Kryptonian who had been doing amazing work on a faraway planet, away from their technologically advanced civilization known as Earth. When Maxima had heard about everything Superman had done, she decided in her heart that he was indeed the man for her and decided to show up on Earth to make the Kryptonian her man. While Maxima is gorgeous to look at and a powerful character with quite a bit of history and heritage behind her owning to her own bloodline, Superman does not want to be with her. Every time she tries to woo him, he rejected her, and as we know, love and hate are both intense feelings. Soon enough, the admiration that she had for him turned into hatred, which led her down the path of villainy that we see her in. She eventually redeems herself, which makes her character growth even more beautiful to watch. How can Maxima temporarily stop her vital functions and stay alert to dangers at the same time? The funny thing about our brain is that it's one of the most selfish organs in our body. Our brain would always prioritize itself over us. But what if we could control our brains to an extreme degree? That's what Maxima's ability is. She is from the House of Blood Royal, and she inherited psychic abilities owing to her bloodline. As her body was made out of selective breeding, Maxima's psychic abilities and mind control over her body are far more than we could imagine. A nice demonstration of her abilities is when she puts her body in suspended animation. Yes, that's right, Maxima can play possum. Whenever she feels like there's a lot of danger around her, she can shut down all of her vital signs and play dead until she's confident that she's safe. We see her do that in Action Comics issue 651, near the end of her first ever encounter with the Man of Steel. See, Maxima showed up in the city and immediately told Superman of her grand proposal. But Superman called her race a race of hot-headed barbarians endorphins, which led to Maxima, well, behaving like a hot-headed person and immediately beating up Superman. She was dominating the fight until Superman lured her into the Star Labs, where he knew there would be enough equipment at hand to stop her from being so explosive. Using his super breath, he covered her under a bunch of broken stuff when he found the headband that would keep Maxima's power under control. He noticed that Maxima was not breathing. As Clark is a good guy, he was concerned and checked on her. Despite his super senses, he was unable to detect any of her vital signs, and when Superman was close enough, Maxima sprung into action and attacked him. Her ability to stop her body from functioning proves that Maxima controls her brain, allowing her to completely lower all her vital signs while being aware of her surroundings. Endorphin Kiss. How does Maxima's special gesture affect emotions? Maxima, the queen of Almerac, has a lot of abilities, and sure, being the result of a carefully curated gene cocktail will definitely give you some cool abilities, but none of her abilities are as cool as her Endorphin Kiss. Endorphin Kiss is exactly what its name suggests. It's a kiss that fills the mind of the recipient with a lot of endorphins. Endorphins are hormones that are released during pleasurable activities, which in turn help reduce stress and pain. Some of the activities where we see a huge surge of endorphins are when we're exercising, getting a massage, eating our favorite meal, or even under the sheets. So clearly these hormones can cause a person to feel an almost euphoric state if there's a lot of it in the body of a person. This is exactly what happens when Maxima gives anyone her endorphin kiss. The kiss is strong enough to release a huge amount of endorphins in the body of the person, triggering them into a euphoric state. The endorphins are as intense as they usually are when two people are physically intimate and replicate mutual feelings. However, as we know, Maxima's not human, so her endorphin kiss can be the kiss of death for us humans, as the amount of endorphin and adrenaline her kiss would release in our system would eventually lead us to be completely overwhelmed and dying. Is Maxima invincible? The secrets behind her near indestructible Almeracian physiology. When it comes to her physiology, Maxima is nowhere weaker than an average Kryptonian for you. She's just as strong as Superman himself, and we get to see it for ourselves in the very first encounter. She's able to land quite a few hits on Superman without any issues, and when we look at the Superman Dies arc, we see that she is the only person, other than the Man of Steel himself, who is able to last against Doomsday. Bullets fly off of her, and even if you fire a missile at Maxima, she will not be taken down by it. No matter how many explosives go off around her, she does not get hurt because she is that durable. Her superhuman durability, owing to her bloodline and race, really comes in handy when you follow her several adventures through the comic book. But there is one more trick that is up Maxima's sleeve, and that's her psionic abilities. Maxima can easily boost her constitution and her strengths by channeling her psychic abilities internally. This increases her body's resistance to damage, making her even more invulnerable. In the 159th issue of Superman, Superman used his X-ray vision to figure out the weak spots in her body and attacked her, but she was able to shake off that attack in record time and kept coming after Superman. Can Maximas Gaze freeze foes? Exploring the paralyzing power in the Empress's eyes. There's something about emerald green eyes that is extremely mesmerizing, especially when it's on a queen like Maxima. The Empress of Almerac has a gaze that'll make you stop in your tracks, quite literally, because she has the ability of a hypnotic gaze. Maxima can easily paralyze people by looking at them. Now, you might wonder how exactly this helps, and I'll tell you. At first, we saw her clone use the power on Lois Lane and every other person on the Daily Bugle in the 645th issue of Action Comics. When Clark found Lois like that, he had to shake her and scream at her to come back to her senses. When Maxima and Superman fight a few issues later after Superman calls her race a hot-headed barbarian, at one point Maxima pretends to be dead, so Superman came close to her to check if she was truly dead or not. When he was within her reach, she stunned him for a while by using this move, which allowed her to use her illusion casting abilities on Superman. When the enemies have great willpower, this hypnotic gaze of hers allows Maxima a little upper hand before she moves into a new attack to hurt them. It acts like a connecting piece between two moves, giving her the upper hand via the element of surprise. Does she have telepathic ability? Finally, we come to her telepathic ability. It's no secret that Maxima looks very much like Jean Grey in her character design, and with the background she has in the mention of her psychic abilities, we are eventually going to come to this anyway. So let's talk about it. Yes, Maxima does have telepathic abilities. She could definitely read minds and get into someone's brain to figure out their inner thought. This is exactly what she does with her telepathic abilities. She puts a probe in someone's mind to figure out their deep thoughts, and this is exactly how she's been able to pinpoint the location of Superman several times throughout the comic book issues, even at one point almost exposing Superman's other identity. However, we see her use her powers for good as well. When an alien called Chalk showed up claiming that he had brought Earth and the solar system, Maxima used her probe and figured out that if they tried to fight with Chalk over the property deeds, things would take a very bad turn. So instead, she negotiated with Chalk and told him to hand over the deeds of Earth for the very low price of 800 trillion centis, a currency that is accepted in more than 200 worlds. While during this negotiation, telepathically, Maxima told Guy Gardner to use his yellow ring powers to pull off this scam because, of course, they were not going to give Chalk 800 trillion centis truly. Thanks to the power of the yellow ring and her telepathy, this scam worked and Maxima ended up saving the day. How do Maxima's mind control powers work? Other than her ability to telepathically probe into other people's minds, Maxima also has the ability to control people's minds as well. We've seen her use her mind control powers on more than one occasion. At one point, Eclipso was able to use a cursed gem to possess Maxima. This allowed Eclipso to use Maxima's mind control powers and control Wonder Woman herself. So Maxima's mind control powers are no joke if they can enslave the Princess of Thelemisarca so easily. Other than that, we have seen Maxima change the mindset of a dealer in one of the comic issues by removing his ability to lie and changing his violent urges. Mystery behind Maxima's Almerakian Mind Bolt, a psychic force unleashed? In the Almerakian royal family, one of the signature moves all members had was the psionic bolt or psi bolt. We see it depicted in the comic book panel of this ray of light that radiates from Maxima's forehead and directly affects the opponent's brain. When this beam reaches its target audience, it causes pain, unconsciousness, brain damage, and, in certain cases, even death. At one point, we see Maxima torture Brainiac with this power of hers, and only when Superman intervenes, she stops. However, by that time, Brainiac has turned into a lobotomized version of himself, which truly shows how strong this signature move of the royal house was. Can Maxima clone herself? If you are the empress of a huge kingdom, then you have to take your safety seriously. Maxima does not play around with her security, and that's why, before venturing into uncharted territories, instead of going into it headfirst without thinking about anything, she sends an exact copy of herself. She calls it a simulacrum. Each of these simulacrum have the same powers that she has, looks exactly like her, and acts on her behalf if she is not present. However, as Superman had commented, the Simulacra tend to be much more docile and vulnerable than the original Maxima. We see her use this to bamboozle Star Sapphire in the Extreme Justice issues 10 and 11. In issue 10, Maxima is kidnapped by Star Sapphire, and in issue 11, we get to see her cut in half. However, when her body is examined, we see that it already started disintegrating, and soon enough, the actual Maxima arrives, proving that whatever we saw at the beginning of the issue was nothing more than a copy of her psychic consciousness. How does Maxima's mind-bending illusion power reshape reality? The more we look at Maxima's arsenal of powers, the more we realize that she can play with our minds with ease. With her ability to cast elaborate illusions, Maxima is able to bend the will of her opponents easily. In the Action Comics issue 651, after Maxima has her first encounter with Superman, she gets into a fight over his rude remark and ends up using her hypnotic gaze on him. Maxima is able to cast an elaborate illusion where Superman sees himself as a warlord back on her planet. However, at that time, Superman was being plagued by the Eradicator, who was in his head, and this presence ended up exposing the illusion to him. Dana Dearden, the crazed fan of Superman known as Obsession, also fell victim to Maxima's illusions, where Maxima split Superman into 4 colors, then disintegrated them after all 4 of them claimed their love for Dana, making her believe that her love would bring an early end to the Man of Steel. Maxima's shielding secret. force field to protect her body. Maxima has another really cool power for her arsenal, which is a force field. Just like Violet from The Incredibles, she's able to create a force field around herself and whoever she wants. This could be an attack maneuver, like when she traps her enemies in one of these force field bubbles and watches as the air slowly runs out, or defense maneuver, like when she creates the bubble around her to travel under the sea. She can also control the thickness of the shields, as we can see. For example, in the 41st issue of Aquaman, the Power Girl is pounding on Maxima, who has her force field up. The field was much more solid for Power Girl's second punch. At one point, Green Lantern and Superman thought that Maxima was trying to invade the solar system as she showed up with a massive army of Americans. But as her home planet was devastated, using her force field, Maxima created a highway for her subjects that took them to meet with Graven. Does she have Flash-like speed? As surprising as it may be, Maxima does have a super speed that rivals Flash's speed to a degree. In her first appearance in the 651st issue, she and Superman engaged in a chicken game because Maxima kept moving at super speed, always running ahead of Superman. This allowed her to jump on the Man of Steel and use a judo throw on him. Her speed went well into hypersonic, and we saw her use telekinesis to transport her handmaiden Sazu back into her spaceship. At the same time, she propelled herself enough to reach the escape velocity to reach her ship. Maximus Teleportation talents. Is she capable of bringing others along for the ride? When we see Maxima in the 651st issue of Action Comics, the first thing she does is dramatically use her teleportation skills to send Sazu, her handmaiden who had destroyed her clone, back into her orbiting spaceship. It's clear that she did this to instill fear in the heart of the poor maiden, but it was clear that she had this power and was not opposed to using it. We also see her use this power to appear in Metropolis in search of Superman himself. We also see her teleport herself and her teammates in and out of battle over a huge distance. She even brought her maid Sazu back to Earth from a prison far away in the galaxy. Even though Earth is a backwater world, far away from the star routes, this is one of the abilities that the Warrior Queen is often seen using much more wisely, and she does not use this unless she has to. Marvelous verdict. The Warrior Queen of Almerac may not have won the heart of the Man of Steel, but she has made a place in the hearts of our fans. With such a fiery personality and an arsenal of extremely cool abilities, Maxima makes an interesting opponent in the portfolio of all villains Superman has faced off against. Even though it is true that Maxima did all of her redeeming arcs because she wanted Superman's attention, as fans, we are interested to see her future attempts at wooing the Man of Steel. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, you!